DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilbo, J Gilbo 11, taking a look at tonight's 7-game slate. And coming over from the pitching pod, it was definitely not a pleasing one to do, just given the fact that there are horrible arms on today's slate. No one's really in a great spot, even if they are above average pitchers. So really, it should be offense aplenty, and you should also have some room to kind of pay up for some bats today and look into cores. With that being said, I mean, obviously there are guys I probably won't be picking on, but I did throw out some viable options as far as diving down in GPPs and using some guys. So I'll talk about them as far as guys that you know, if you're not, you can still look at bats against them. And obviously the first one here is one of those situations where A's are taking on the Angels. I talked about Ricky Nolasco being a cheap option you might be looking to use, just given the fact that the A's are only projected for about 4 runs. And obviously because that's pretty low on tonight's slate. I mean, there's no one really projected for under 4. The Mariners and Astros are close, of course. So Nolasco you could take a look at, but you could also take a look against him. Obviously, I think that Chris Davis is certainly intriguing in GPPs at 4.5, given the fact that Nolasco 365 WOBA to righties, 1.41 home runs per 9. Chris Davis obviously an intriguing GPP option, just given the fact that his home run potential is tremendous. Outside of that, I don't mind Stephen Vogt as a 2,800 punt catcher. Nolasco hasn't been superb against lefties, just a 321 WOBA allowed. Nothing crazy, but not bad either. So I don't mind those 2 names, but that's about it for me. Danny Valencia's really cooled off. Coco Crisp is a little bit out of my price range. Jed Lowry, not really looking to dive down with him. So the A's are kind of a team that really is focused on just kind of Vogt and Davis at this point. As far as the Angels go, I don't mind attacking Jesse Hahn, just given the fact that Hahn's been pretty average. You know, especially this season. So I don't mind the front of that order again. Trout, a little expensive for me. I still kind of rather lean towards some other bats, but we always know his upside. Cole Calhoun, 3.4 is certainly intriguing to me at his price. I could definitely kind of see using him as a sneaky GPP play, some decent value as well in Pujols at 3,800. He's certainly been hot of late, so I don't mind using him. And as always with this Angels offense, I mean, you got a lot of value guys in the back end, but obviously they're deserving of those cheap price tags, so it's not something I'm jumping all over. Mets and Yankees next. Bartolo Colon versus Nathan Eovaldi, and the lefties in this one are certainly intriguing, just because both these pitchers are not good against left-handers. Eovaldi especially. Go back to last year through today, 355 WOBA to lefties, 1.07 home runs per 9. And then you get Bartolo Colon, 321 WOBA allowed, 1.34 home runs per 9. So lefties are certainly in an intriguing spot here, and we'll start with the Mets. Curtis Granderson, Neil Walker, James Loney, all under 4K. Michael Conforto under 4K as well. All guys who can definitely show some power, especially in that stadium. I mean, Loney's been better. I don't mind Loney as kind of a value first base option. He's certainly intriguing. And obviously, Jay Bruce is your more expensive bat, 5.4, but obviously he has the best track record, most potential to kind of do some damage here, but you're paying up to get that. But in Yankee Stadium, it's definitely a big bonus for them. Eovaldi's a guy who I also touched on as far as being a GPP option, but obviously we know his risk with left-handers, and that's where I definitely would be targeting. And on the Yankee side, I mean, it's really the front 4 that we're taking a look at, and they're all very cheap outside of Brett Gardner. Ryan McCann, decent catching option there at 3.7. If you wanted to punt first base with Teixeira at 3K, I don't mind doing that. Ellsbury hasn't really showed a ton of upside, but on a limited slate, it's pretty small. I'll take a look at him and Gardner as kind of possibly being options. But going into the second half of that lineup, I'm not really looking to use anyone there, even though there are some value price tags. Rangers and Orioles next here. AJ Griffin, Wade Miley. This is something that I'm certainly intrigued with, and we'll start with the Baltimore side with some of those lefties. Hyun-Soo Kim, 3.6. I don't mind him. Chris Davis at 4.4, certainly intriguing. Matt Wieters at 3.7, I do like there. Just given that Griffin, I mean, 368 WOBA allowed to lefties, 45% hard ball rate, 2.3 home runs per 9 this year. That's a big number to target lefties against. I really don't mind the Orioles' bats here. And also, we know the righties. Adam Jones is a little bit out of my price tag at 5K. That's a little bit expensive for me. But Machado at 4.4, certainly intriguing. Trumbo at 4.5, I definitely do like. So Orioles projected for 5 runs in that ballpark. I do think they kind of put on an offensive show. As far as the Rangers, I'm only looking at a couple bats, and I don't mind Desmond Beltran. That's certainly intriguing. And even Orion Rua, if you wanted to look in the outfield. Lucroy continues to be a bit overpriced for a catcher. I'm not really looking to use him. But you look at Wade Miley, go back to last year, 3.38 WOBA allowed to right-handers, 1.11 home runs per nine. You could see why I like Desmond so much at his price tag, 4.6. He was a guy I was expecting over 5K today, just given the matchup. But I'll take this one quite a bit, and I like this game really as a whole. Pirates and Braves here, Ryan Vogelsong versus Tyrell Jenkins. And this is just another one where I'm not pleased with the bats. Freddie Freeman was a guy I was hoping would be in the low 4Ks to take a stab at, but given his hot play of late, it wasn't happening. But you look at Vogelsong going back to last year, 392 WOBA to lefties, 2.06 home runs per nine. I really don't mind left-handed bats for the Braves, and that's crazy to say, but you don't see this often, but they are projected for nearly 4.5 runs. You could definitely work them into lineups to be different. Their prices are a little bit higher than I would like, but certainly in play. As far as the Pirate side goes, definitely you can take a look at the outfield again, but it is expensive. It's not my first choice. There obviously are some cheaper bats like Jung Ho Kang, Matt Joyce, but that's about it. This Pirates offense, they are projected for over 4.5 runs, but they're just really not that appealing as far as DFS goes. But you know the names by now. It's basically just kind of the main guys there, and it always has been. Blue Jays and Astros next. Mike Fiers versus Jay Happ, and Fiers obviously an interesting character to kind of pick on tonight. 3.37 WOBA allowed to righties, 1.39 home runs per nine. Obviously, a Bautista price tag of 4.2 is going to make him a popular play tonight. Donaldson 4.9, Encarnacion 4.5. Encarnacion continues to be fairly cheap for what his usual standards are, so I don't mind paying 4.5 for E5 there. Tulowitzki 4.4. It's a little out of my price range, but I don't mind using it. I don't mind a Toronto stack. Fiers, against lefties has been kind of average. So Saunders is still in play, even though he is struggling. But then you kind of dive down after that, and it's not really anyone that I feel comfortable using. And on the Astro side, I'm really looking at three guys who have hit lefties really well. And that's George Springer, 4.2 is a great price tag for him. And obviously, Happ has been quality this season, and he has been solid against right-handed bats. But obviously, with this Astros team, it's kind of a boomer bust situation. So I don't mind Springer. I don't mind Altuve. We know what those guys can do. I've also Nevin Gaddis behind the dish is an interesting way to go. And I'm curious to see these guys' ownerships because I'm also curious to see what Haps is tonight because it could be something just given the fact that the slate is awful for pitching. So I'm limiting my exposure to Houston bats outside of really those three there. Dodgers and Rockies, Kenta Maeda versus Tyler Chatwood. And Chatwood's a guy who's horrendous in Coors, but solid on the road. So he's in Coors. You can definitely target both sides here. And obviously, 1 through 6 is certainly in play. Justin Turner is a guy who I'm looking to plug into about every lineup tonight, just given he hammers right-handed pitching. And also Corey Seager's red hot 2.55. You got to pay up to get these guys, but obviously I do think the Dodgers stack is worthy. That 2 through 5 there, even a Grandal if you wanted to work him in. Very expensive, but definitely given the fact that there is weaker pitching and hell, if you wanted to even pair him up with a Maeda, you could certainly do that. So definitely something to consider. You look at Chatwood, obviously, his numbers are a little bit tamed, but in Coors, he's not a good arm. As far as the Rocky side, I'm not really a big fan of this lineup tonight. That could be missing Carlos Gonzalez, and they're already missing Trevor Story. Certainly, David Dahl at 3.8 is worth a look in GPPs. He's not quite the value that he was the last couple of days at 3K. I'm not really intrigued with playing Blackman at 5.2. I just really had the Rockies number through 2 starts. I'm kind of holding off. When a team is projected for under 5 runs in Coors, that may jump up over the next couple hours, but it's not really good. It's not really something that the value is something that I'm all over. So I'm kind of passing on the Rockies there tonight. I think the Dodgers will be my focal point from that game. Red Sox and Mariners here, Ariel Miranda versus Drew Pomeranz, and obviously Nelson Cruz is certainly in play. Whoever's catching, whether it's Mike Zunino or Chris Iannetta, is certainly in play. Dae-Ho Lee certainly in play. Franklin Gutierrez certainly in play. Obviously, Pomeranz one of the better pitchers on tonight's slate. And he doesn't allow a ton of home runs, but still, There is some potential for those right-handed bats who do hit lefties well. Still projected for 4 runs. I think it's going to be a selective group that kind of gets that job done. It's not going to be a huge game. And it's going to be kind of the situation for the Sox as well. You can definitely take a look at some of the value that they have, like a Bryce Brents or an Aaron Hill that comes out in the end of that lineup. No Hanley really takes the sting out of this lineup as far as a whole. You like to play Hanley against lefties. Bogart's Ortiz only 4-4 if you wanted to roll the lefty-lefty matchup. Obviously, Ortiz is fine against lefties, but obviously in Safeco it's a little bit different story. In Fenway, maybe you take a look at it, just given he's been a better guy at home. Bogart's 5K, we know his job with lefties, but it's obviously expensive, and given the fact that he's only 500 less than Seager, I'd rather make that jump. So the Sox are at a point where they're very expensive and they're not really producing a ton of fantasy production. So it's just one of those situations where I like to stay away and kind of use some other teams. So that's going to wrap things up with the DK Daily Trot. Be sure to check out DailyFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.